Oh, yeah! It's time for another episode of the Comic Book Kaiju. I am your host, Vactor, and I'm here with not only all-around media and chicken consumer, but purveyor of cussy sentences and radio stuffs, Curtis. How are you, sir?
Who reads people's Instagram bios? That is so rude. You are a rude person.
I just go by what... That is your own self-proclaimed title, so that's what or bio. So that's what I put in there.
I don't know which drunken stupor I was in when I wrote that. That doesn't even matter. Like, don't do that.
I did the same with Goodman, so he was a tall, whatever, sweater. Maven. Yeah. So that is Curtis. Now, Curtis hosts a Marvel streaming podcast called Tesseract TV. So he is another MCU Marvel expert, along with Heather Nelson. So that's why I wanted to have Curtis on. Curtis, could you, real quick, give us your Marvel origin story? Like, how did you get into Marvel? What was your first core memory of Marvel?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to assume it was probably like that '90s X-Men cartoon. That's probably what the gateway drug was. Because they was acting up on there, and I liked that when I was a kid.
I've heard that from so many people, and at the time I didn't realize that as a kid. Like, this is going to be impactful for so many people in their lives, and it's going to be their gateway drug. At the time I was just like, oh yeah, this is great, just another Marvel TV show. But now looking back, what are we, 30 years now?
Don't say numbers, that's so rude.
I'm like, man, that was so influential. So yeah, that's great. The 90s X-Men, and now we got them bringing it back with the X-Men. What is it, X-Men 92 or whatever it's called?
97, I think, is what they're going to go with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that 100% had an impact on the culture. But
like, really, I'm going to tell you, like, just the memory that you unlocked, because they were really pushing that drug, because back in the day, they did like a promotion with like Pizza Hut, where they had like the videotapes of the X-Men. They would like give you a videotape. I can't remember what you had to do with this pizza, but if you did a certain amount of pizza or something, they gave you the videotape with the X-Men.
I had that videotape. Now that you say that, dang, I forgot that it was Pizza Hut. So I remember having that videotape.
They was pushing it on us, bro.
Yes. I can't believe it. And is this our very first video interaction that we've ever had in our lives?
Video, audio interaction, anything.
This is crazy, because I go back with Curtis at least 10 years. At least.
Mm-hmm.
We got to put a number on it. Curtis has been one of the most entertaining social media people on the platform of Twitter, Instagram.
You following the right one?
On. Anything that Curtis is a part of, it makes me laugh. And anytime there is a celebrity death, Curtis is on top of it. He is telling us. It always makes me laugh every single time. So I'm very happy that Curtis is joining us today on the Comic Book Kaiju. And specifically, we are talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, which Curtis is also doing a very good job of covering on Tesseract TV. So if you're not subscribed to Tesseract TV, definitely check them out. We'll have a link in the show notes.
Oh, appreciate it, bro.
And Curtis, you need more video.
You want me to do the video thing?
You're a radio guy, but I need to see your face. I need more Curtis
to do that.
That's another thing on Instagram. I love seeing Curtis video, Curtis pictures, Curtis, anything Curtis. I want to see it. So yeah, you guys need to get on the video, because I want to see some Tesseract video.
Oh, jeez. Heather's not going to like that either.
All
right, let's talk about She-Hulk and junk.
Woo! So this episode was titled Just Jen.
Hey.
And that's what it was. Almost like a bottle episode of her at the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And she even said, she pointed to the camera and said, hey, this is a self-contained wedding episode. And what do you think about the fourth wall breaking so far, 6 episodes deep into this? What do you think about the fourth wall breaking?
I'm more or less a fan of it. I think there's only like one time I didn't like it. And that was probably when they did the one about the A-B story connecting. I probably didn't like that one that much. But like the rest of the time, it seems to work for me.
Yeah.
Especially on this one, because I feel like they knew they were trolling people, and people was suspecting Daredevil,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
and so they pretty much just their way of acknowledging, like, hey, yes, inconvenient timing, like weddings. I like
And
that.
it's funny because Daredevil was trending on Twitter as soon as this episode came out because so many people were like, Daredevil, Daredevil, there's no Daredevil. And at this point, I'm just like, when it happens, it happens. I'm not
Yep.
expecting anything. I actually had some of my friends request to come on to this episode right now if Daredevil was a part of the show. Now, you see, it's just me and Curtis. That's because there's no Daredevil. So there is a huge outpouring of Daredevil love, which I'm part of that club. I want to see
Of
Daredevil
course.
too, but we'll see him when we see him. But for this episode, Jen is a bridesmaid in a friend's wedding in a stressful event compounded by uniquely She-Hulk issues. So the A storyline is just her at this wedding, being a bridesmaid at the wedding, and just stuff happening to her. And I watched this episode with my wife, and I said, "What do you think about this so far as her in the Jen form, and the way that people treat her in the Jen form versus the way they treat her as She-Hulk?" And my wife was like, "Man, they shouldn't do that. Jen Walters, she's a good girl. Like she's smart, she's pretty, she got a lot going for her. But they're dumping on her like as Jen as much as they can. Versus She-Hulk, it's like your hair, your butt, like everything is She-Hulk. What do you think about that? As far as like, do you think they're going too far as far as dumping on Jen, or do you think it's like it's all for comedy, it's all fun?
Yeah, it's all for comedy is where I take it. Like it's, I guess not to read too much into it
Right.
because I think they're doing like a character arc thing. So I think that's what they're trying to get her to the point where she's gonna be okay being herself and
Yes.
She-Hulk
Yep.
at the end. So this is the way of like going through the growing pains of getting there at the
Right.
end.
Like her
I
arc
think
in
that's
the
what they're going
show or
for.
the season. Yeah, I could
Hmm.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. It's like I'm taking it as like the humor, the joke of it, of her being like, oh, Jen is, and She Hulk is yeah. So I'm like I'm just taking it as it is. I'm enjoying all the comedy on this show so far. Like everything with Titania. What do you say? Do you say Titania or Titania? What do you say?
I say the second one, Titania. Yeah,
Okay. I've
but I
heard
want to
people
say
say,
Titania. That sounds
yeah,
cool.
I've heard people say it both ways. I don't know which way to say it, but yeah, I'm enjoying everything with Jamila Jamil, um, everything with her family, everything with her relationships as far as like the dating profile that she set up and everything. So for this episode
Hmm.
specifically, um, the A plot line, like I said, is her at the wedding. The B plot line is Mallory Book and what's Ginger's name? Um, her friend, her best
Oh,
friend. I forget it every
Nikki.
week.
That's my
Nikki.
girl, Nikki.
What
Nikki.
do you
Yeah,
think?
that's my
What do you think
girl.
about that? The secondary plot line with Nikki and Mallory.
I feel like everybody wants to have a side story with Nikki. I feel like that's what they're going for right now because she brings out the best in everybody.
Right.
She's like the sleeper star of the show, if you ask me.
Mm.
So yeah, they just been teaming her up with everything, and it always seems to work.
Yeah, I'm hundred
So
percent.
like, I would watch out for her. Like, I don't know what this actress. I think she's gonna blow up
Yeah, I was thinking about that too when I was
in like a
watching
good
it.
way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that 100%. I was like, this could be that, that starring role that pushes her forward into the limelight and maybe pushes her career, kicks it up a notch. Um, I was also
Yeah.
thinking about that with what's her name, Madison with a Y. I was thinking about that for her too. Like, there's certain roles where people just like they get elevated, they get pushed up, and then everybody wants to cast them and
Right.
everything. So yeah, I could definitely see that for Nikki. She's been great so far. And has there been anything specifically with She-Hulk Attorney at Law that has kind of rubbed you the wrong way, and you're like, nah, they don't need to do that anymore. They don't need to be talking about Bruce all the time. They don't need to be like. Is there anything that stuck out
Uh,
to you?
I'll say specifically with this episode, with the whole like big deal about her clothing, right? So
Oh,
they made this big deal about getting her new clothes, and then all it is some like regular looking dress. I'm like, oh,
well, you know what?
that's it. Like I got a polka dot dress. Like the girls have been wearing that all the time.
Right. And my wife was like, when she saw the bag that covers the suit, she was like, "Is that the super suit? Is that the super
Yeah,
suit?" So she's anticipating that. I've already seen it, in the press footage and stuff. But
right in the
my wife
trailers.
was like,
Yeah.
"Where is it? Where is it?" She hasn't seen it yet. So yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to that super suit. She's wearing it with Daredevil in that scene with Daredevil. So
That's right.
we'll see.
In
Yeah,
those
I was
trailers.
right.
So whenever
I
that
was there
happens.
with you. Yeah, I was there with you with that polka dot dress, and then she wore that bridesmaid dress. Um, I'm not 100% sure what the deal with. Oh, you're on ironing duty, and the guys were playing Mario Kart. So can you iron their shirts? Like, it was funny for a second, and I was like, wait a minute, what? And where does that
What is
lead to? Like,
happening?
what is? Yeah, what is there more to that? Is there something else? But I think that was it. That was the one and done joke. I don't think we're gonna come back to that next week. Um, so that
I
was
think that was
kind
just
of
more about like you said, they're dumping on her all the time. So I think that was more just like them saying like she always has bad luck,
yeah,
like because she had
and
to walk with the dog as well.
right. I could not stop laughing when I saw that. Which that dog was very similar to a dog that my wife had growing up. So when she saw that, she was like, "Oh." So for her, that was like, yeah, that's I would want to walk down the aisle with him versus all these other guys that she's been looking at. But speaking of guys that she's been looking at, this guy that approaches her in this episode, he had the smooth entry when he was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, my plan is to meet pretty girls that are stuffing their face with candy, and that's what you're doing right now." Like, I think that was pretty smooth of him to come in like that. So, do you think? Let me ask Curtis, because Curtis is the expert. Like I said,
Mm-mm.
do you think he's got ulterior motives, like somebody put him up to it, or you think that was genuine, like he's really trying to get in? He's trying to get in there.
Um, I'm gonna lead like if I'm tossing a coin, I'm gonna lead genuine, but it does
Okay,
look precarious because they left that scene off right where they're eating the French fries and they're being spied on.
right.
So it's like is he in on that or not? I'm gonna flip the coin and say he's being genuine,
Okay, and that's what
but
I
we'll
want.
see.
Yeah, I
Right,
want it to be
right.
genuine, especially after she's been dumped on in all these episodes. Like Tatiana Maslany, she's kind of won me over. Like I didn't watch Orphan Black, but with this show, she's kind of won me over. It's like, oh man, I don't want anything bad to happen to her. So
Right.
I'm hoping that it's genuine. But like you said,
Well, you got
we
to
will
get on
see.
that. Get on like at least 1 or 2 seasons of Orphan Black just to see her range of all the things that she can do.
And it's
I mean,
it's
Orphan
on
Black
my
kind of goes
list.
downhill real fast, but
Oh, does it? Which season would you say? Three?
yeah. Oh man, I can't remember. Probably somewhere
Okay.
mid-range in two, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But
At least the
but like
first
I was
season.
watching for
Okay.
the performance. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because it's on my list of. I got about 500 shows that I have not caught up on, so it's on that list. But
Mm,
Tatiana Maslany, very good so far. Nothing but praise for
yeah.
her in this scenario. So we also saw in the B plot line, Mr. Immortal, who I immediately when I heard his voice, I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from Book of Boba Fett. That's the David Pasquazi, and he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm and been on a bunch of stuff." So when I saw him as Mr. Immortal, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's that guy." What did you think about that whole Craig Hollis Mr. Immortal thing, where he got 100 wives and he's gonna kill himself every time?
I loved it every minute of it because I did not expect the humor to get that dark on this
Oh,
show, and that's one of my favorite
yeah,
things is dark
yeah.
humor. And so, like the fact that this guy just deals with situations like for some reason he got immortal superpowers, and he just like, I'm out. Peace. I'm jumping out this window. It's over. Let's go. I'm not. I'm not dealing with this. And like, I hate to admit this, but the trash part of me kind of relates. I'm like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, fam.
Yeah,
So
100% relatable. there is a part of that I think everybody can relate to. Wouldn't it be great if in your everyday life, like, man, my job sucks. All right, I'm gonna kill myself, and I can get out of that. My my girlfriend, I don't like her. She didn't take the trash out or whatever. I'm gonna kill myself, get out of that. That is relatable, 100%. Mystery Mortal. So yeah, that whole
Who's
story
apparently a real character in the comics. Like, I had no clue.
Yeah, I had to look him up too, and I think he was kind of like on a side team, like the West Coast Avengers.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a mainstream character, but yeah, he was kind of in the background. So they pulled a pretty deep Marvel cut, and I think from the trailers, there's going to be a Frogman, which is another like deep Marvel cut.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really cool that this show does that. They pull from kind of obscure characters, and then they're doing like the MCU version of them, because in the comics he's not an older guy. He's not like
Right.
And he works with like this, he is a superhero. So I like that they do these little twists and these little changes where it's not the exact same thing, but you can get what you need out of it, like the comedy of it, or let's say the drama of it. From that,
yeah, because they're going so deep in the the character pile that nobody's going to care if you
right.
mix it up a little bit.
Because there's not going to be a Mystery Immortal show or movie. So yeah,
or super fan.
Right. So yeah, that was funny. So I think every episode of She-Hulk I have enjoyed. There hasn't been one that I'm like, they took the week off this week. Like, every episode has been enjoyable for me. So this one I thought was just another one to add to the list of it's a solid show. It just keeps on coming back with the action, with the comedy, with the superhero stuff added to it. All of those things are just, I have no notes. Everything is good.
I think this one might have actually been my favorite, and I was prepared to be mad when I seen they was trolling me about the Daredevil thing. So like for them to still win me over at the end is a very, that's a tall feat.
Yeah,
because I was ready to throw hands, Vactor. I was ready.
I was right there with you. But you know what? I am still ready to throw hands about the no post credit scene. Now, were you lied to like I was? Were you trolled as well? I saw a bunch of stuff online that said, "Oh, there's this post credit scene after every episode," and that's what all the critics were saying, because they got the first 4 episodes first, and the first 4 episodes had them. So, did you believe? Were you dumb like me? And did you believe it? Were you gullible as me to believe it, or are you just taking them as is, like whatever?
Yeah, I was taking it because, like, I knew, from the other Marvel shows, I figured it was probably unlikely that there will be something after everyone. But like, whatever. And you've been on the internet long enough. You're not supposed to believe everything you be reading. You know that. Come on.
Well, I got. Yeah, I got tricked. I wanted to believe it just because those first 4, I loved all the post credit scenes. Especially the first one, Captain America F's. All right, all of those scenes were great. So hopefully we're gonna get Daredevil coming up in this next episode, because there's only 9 total. Is that right? Is it 8 or 9?
9. So
okay.
Where are we? This was number 6. Was 6.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta go eat crow on my own podcast because I was over here talking mess. Like, I predicted Daredevil was coming in number 6. I was talking the Cash Money mess, and now I gotta go. Like, oh man, that's gonna suck. Anyways,
and if you want to hear Curtis eat crow, check out Tesseract TV. That is going to be a very good time. Anytime I see a new Tesseract TV pop up on my feed, I'm like, all right, I got to click on this, because MCU, everything that you guys talk about is fantastic over there. So, Mr. Listener or Mrs. Listener, definitely check out the Tesseract TV podcast. And I think, unless you had any other things to say about this episode, I think it was just another good She-Hulk episode.
What would I add? I would add, like, if you're one of those people that are sending those confetti invites to people, like, don't do that mess. That's so rude. Like, those are a real thing. Don't do that mess.
Oh man, I've never seen that before, and when I saw that in the show, I just started laughing.
No, those are a
That
real
was
thing.
dang. And actually, you know what? Before we close out, I did want to say the actor that played the bride, Patty Harrison,
Hmm.
uh, one of my wife's favorite actors. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
I was not aware of Patty Harrison's work before that, but she was in Lost City, and I think you should leave on Netflix. So there's a ton of stuff that I was seeing her in, but I wasn't um, putting two and two together. So shout out to Patty Harrison, one of my wife's
Shout
favorite.
out. Oh, one more question, Vactor. So, like,
Yes.
we got this subplot going on now with the first with the wrecking crew trying to steal
Oh
She-Hulk's
yes.
blood,
Right.
and then now the way this episode ended. Like, do you have any thoughts on what that is? And they obviously threw the intelligentsia thing out there too.
You know, when they first showed that set of hands and they were blue, I was like, "Oh, is this?" First, I was thinking, "Is this like the leader?" But then I was like, "Oh wait, he's green." And then I was thinking, "Was this some type of alien?" And it just turned out to be plastic bags.
You about to go down the route? You like it's the Kree
Yeah,
again?
I that's the type of stuff that I do on Marvel stuff, which is that's no matter what if it's a movie, if it's a TV show, I always like to go down that rabbit hole. But I was thinking maybe Kingpin, maybe because they're already bringing in Daredevil, so maybe there's some type of Kingpin tie in there. The leader also kind of has that he's going to be in that Captain America movie, so
Mm-hmm.
and he's got the Hulk tie-in, so I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
that direction as well. But then maybe they will just bring out somebody that we've never seen before, never heard from before, maybe. So I've got those options open in my mind of it could be leader, kingpin, or just some random person. Because who would want She-Hulk's blood specifically? Watch it just be Titania at the end. She just
Or
wanted to use it.
Madison all along
That was part of her deal with the demon that she had when she had that heart in
with
her
Jake the
hand.
Demon.
Yeah. So I think yeah, it could be any of those. Do you have a guess?
I'm alternating between whatever that dweeby guy with the scarf that ended up in her firm, either that
Ooh,
guy or the leader. Those are my two guesses.
okay. And they showed a specific needle at the end there.
Yeah,
I they didn't say anything, like there wasn't any text anywhere, but I'm thinking that's vibranium. I don't think they're gonna make it adamantium.
that
I
would be
think
a good little like since they dropped in these little mutant hints, that would be a cool little one if they did.
yeah, and especially since they had the Wolverine specific one in I think it was episode 3.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be vibranium, and they're going to be like, okay, this is the only thing that can pierce her skin. But that's one of those plot lines that I'm like, man, I wish this had dropped all at once because I'm like, I want to know. I want to know what is the deal with that. So yeah, that was a good like cliffhanger ending to
Hmm.
end it on. So yeah, just another good episode, I think, for She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Um,
But stop playing and give us Matt Murdock next week. We're not playing no more. I will throw hands. I'm not going to be
oh,
so graceful next week. I'm going to
I
get
need
my
to
Twitter
come.
fingers out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, make a trend again, Daredevil. I need to come with my Daredevil shirt next week.
Hey,
Watch it be the finale. Watch
probably.
that scene that we saw where
Yep.
he's flipping in is in the finale. But man, I can't wait for that Daredevil show. That is going to be fantastic.
We got to stay alive so long.
That's what another buddy of mine. He always says that anytime they announce something new, like Phase 5 or Phase 6, he's like, "All right, we just got to stay alive until this date. Until this date." And I was like, "Well, you keep pushing it back for how long we got to stay alive." But maybe we all need to be Mr. Immortal.
That's
So
what I'm saying. Dreams.
we can get some more Marvel stuff because Marvel is. I don't know what DC Warner Brothers is doing, but Marvel is just hitting it out of the park. All the stuff that they're putting out is fantastic.
And they're doing what they get to the point where they can just take risk and like, if some stuff don't hit, they can just move on to the next thing. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and I never thought I would see that day. Do you remember the days of the Ben Affleck Daredevil or the
Right.
Fantastic
Of
Four
course.
Jessica Alba, where it was
Yes.
like, this is all we're gonna get. It will never get better than this because we've seen even worse
Right.
stuff before this. So to be at this point 10, 15 years later is just amazing. And I got to keep telling Curtis how old we are.
Well,
it's just,
no, but that's a good point because that's what when people get all up in arms about the CG on this show, I'm like, bro, I came up in the Smallville days. Like, you don't even understand.
yeah.
Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, if we had this kind of CG back then, what I would be flipping out. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe the CG's a little laggy, but it's a She-Hulk show, every week. Like, I could never imagine.
Yeah, and actually, how many times? Take a shot every time I mention my wife on this show. This show I got to give credit to because my wife had no inkling for the character of She-Hulk. Now it's one of her favorite characters.
Oh, that's
Every
great.
week we watch it, she's like, I love She-Hulk. She's my favorite character now. And I'm like, all right, this show did its job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So excellent. Well, Curtis, it has been a pleasure having you on here. Not only did you make me laugh 57 times, I counted, but I think you are doing some great stuff online, on the internet. I think everybody should check out Tesseract TV. Anything else that Curtis has coming up in the future?
You said that and it made me think. I hope I don't have no babies. Like, no, I'm good. That's it, man. That's all I got right now. I appreciate you, Vactor, man. You're the best hype man out here, man.
I try because anytime I come across a purveyor of cussy sentences, and stuff, I have to lift him up and put him on a pedestal.
Now I gotta fight you.
Thank you very much. I have to say, everyone out there, don't forget, you can always subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever your podcasts are found. I would like to let you know you can leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Curtis loves comics, and you should too.